Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake lie or imagination. The word mythology was coined against the Vedic Shastra, against the Vedas, clearly because it was used first time using a Sanskrit word for the Indian colony by the British. And later on, it was used for everyone else. That's mythology. And when the Indian Americans say, according to Hindu mythology, I have to say, oh my gosh, this person doesn't understand English. You may be living here, but may not understand English because in English language is built on connotations and usage, not the exact words like Sanskrit. I have a very, very special guest today, and he has been recommended by a very good friend of mine. He has published a book as well. And let us welcome Shri Parag.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Aditya. I'm very excited. Thanks for inviting me. And I just heard the list of locations that the audience is from. Very, very exciting, especially people in the West Coast and all. It is way too early and exciting to see people are interested in learning so many things, learning the truth, as you said. And that makes me very happy that crowd is really interested in understanding what is the truth versus what is the myth. And today we are going to talk a lot about truth. So thank you.
Good opening lines, and thank you, Paragji. Parag Bhalerao. That's how pronounce his name, Bhalerao. And the Bhagavad Gita says very interesting thing that some people are only become awake in the night, while some others who are seeking themselves, they become awake early morning. So we have a good crowd who is seekers who are getting up early in the morning. So today's the topic of discussion is creation, and audience will be shocked to know that the Vedic version of creation is very scientific and very direct, and Parag will speak all about it. So Parag, before we start off, because the creation is an essential element in understanding yourself and your relationship, the world around you, isn't it?
Correct. That is so true. Because we perceive everything because we are created, and we perceive everything that is created. Or more accurate word, Aditya, is manifested. Right? We in Vedic literature, we don't call it created because we believe that it was there already. It just manifested in the form that we can perceive or we can see or visualize or so on.
You make a great point because that's absolutely right. So instead of creation, we should call it manifestation, because it is visible and then become invisible. It's visible, but it's always there.
Correct.
And you use the word belief, and I'll pick you on that one. Sure. Because the belief-based systems, are they scientific or not? Because the question is, if you believe something, and when we talk about yoga, is about experience and observation, which is more scientific than belief. What do you have to comment on that before we start off with the actual topic?
So in my opinion, Aditya, belief system is something that gives us inner strength. I believe in something, so it gives me strength to understand it, further study it, further explore it, and then uncover the truth or science, or maybe it is a myth, and then my belief will get shaken and I will stop believing in it. But before I can study something, I need to have that belief that something exists which is worth exploring or studying or finding or believing in.
Yeah, great point. So when we talk about the creation or manifestation, you corrected me there. So in our experience, like because Mahabharata talks about it, Bhagavad Puran talks about it, Vishnu Puran talks about it. Every single Vedic Puran talks talk about it, and it is also covered in Veda also, Yajur Veda or other Veda also is covered. So why Now, Parikshit Maharaj, when he's about to die, the whole creation is explained three times by different people. Shukdev Goswami is coming in the third canto, second canto, then eighth canto, ninth canto, 11th canto, quoting multiple versions of the same thing. Why it is so much emphasized in all the Vedic Shastra?
So there are multiple reasons. One is it is pure knowledge, and we need to know. Like we teach our kids history and science and few basic facts, right? And some of the things are facts. There is no need to teach. If you say sunlight is white, right? What is there to teach? But it is covered in all the education and all the schools and everything. So one aspect is in the similar way that it is a pure science. We want to remember it, we want to understand it, so it is repeated multiple times. And interestingly, Aditya, today we are going to focus mostly about Purusha-sukta, which describes the sequence of creation or manifestation. And that sukta, if you are aware, it is chanted in every household very frequently. If you look at any major puja, any major ritual, during those rituals, even Purusha Sukta is chanted. Why is it chanted? Because again, it is a science. We need to understand, and that science, that knowledge needs to continue. If we don't chant it or don't repeat it, don't memorize it, don't reinforce it, then eventually the knowledge gets lost. And to avoid that, this is key aspect of creation of our existence, and that is why it is emphasized through various rituals and various chantings and daily practices.
Purusha-sukta prayers, we can continue this, we can make it a series on this one because it is very much needed. People need to understand the mantra which a Pandit says. Most of the Pandits understand because that's why they're repeating it for so many years. And from Vitark comes Vichar. So they naturally understand what Vichar they're going to develop. So if you can tell Purush-sukta prayers introduction and tell the meanings that how it relates to the creation, that will be really helpful.
Sure. I'll just take a step back if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We know Purusha-sukta is Vedic literature. It comes in different Veds. Now, Ved basically, and most people must have heard it, but Ved is nothing but knowledge, book of knowledge. It comes from root word Vid. Vid means to know, Veda means knowledge. So, people who understand the Ved, again, what happens is I have seen many videos on YouTube about Purusha Sukta. I have read multiple books on Purusha Sukta. They all say that Purusha Sukta talks about creation or manifestation. And we will use those words loosely or interchangeably. I use word creation because it is more relatable, more easy to understand. But coming back, so they all agree that Purusha Sukta talks about creation. But none of the explanation that they give clearly explains how it relates to creation. People have different misunderstandings. Many people think that Purusha Sukta is used in rituals, so it is maybe praising some god or some ritualistic aspect is there, which may or may not be true. But what I have focused is what is that knowledge part, what is that with part in Purusha Sukta. And that is how I started to understand it, started analyzing it. Other thing that happens is many Sanskrit words, they have multiple meanings. And there are words where you can literally get more than 20 meanings out of single word. And many a times people use the most conventional meaning, most day-to-day used meaning, which may not be relevant in that context. So when we are trying to decode or analyze any Vedic scripture, it is important that we keep the context in mind. For example, in Purusha Sukta, the context is creation. So every word that we are analyzing, we need to analyze in that context. How does this word relate to creation? And then understand different meanings and pick the meaning which is relevant to that context, and then do our further study. And many times that aspect is missed, and then people try to interpret it as a religious text or some prayer or worship aspects in it. And that's fine, it's their interpretation. But I try to keep it very, very scientific, focused around creation aspect.
So, the Purusha in Sanskrit is explained to be Vishnu generally, because he's the one which is not in control of anyone. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, see, there are, again, within our culture, there are different belief systems or faiths or samaj or whatever you call it, right? So there is Shaiva, there is Vaishnav, there is Shakta, there is, so many Ganpatya Samaj. So different Samaj believe that the God that they are praying to is the supreme creator. And that is fine, because it is just same energy, same power, same entity. Different people are believing in different forms of it, and which is absolutely fine, and it is intended also. That is how it should be. Different people have freedom to uh, understand in different perspectives, interpret in different perspectives, and so on. But the important part there is the word Purusha itself. What does Purusha mean, right? And that itself is very, very important. And Adityaji, if you see again any explanation of the word Purusha, they break it as Pura and Sha. And most commonly, people make a mistake of understanding that word Sha. Pura, they all understand, they all interpret that Pura means, a town or a city, or in different contexts, it can be human body, or in this context of creation, it is the entire universe. But Sha, there are two Shas in Sanskrit. One is Sha that is used in Shiva or Shankar, and other Sha is used in Krishna, right? And we all know those are two different Shas. Many people analyze word Purusha as Puri Shete or Puri Shayanath. And that Puri Shayanath Sha or Shete Sha is Sha that is used in Shiva, that is not the Sha used in Purusha. Right? And based on that, they say that one who sleeps in the entire universe. Now, then I started thinking, if somebody sleeps in the universe, he cannot be active. He cannot activate the universe. He cannot energize the universe. And then I realized that the Sha they are using is wrong Sha. It is Sha from Krishna, and there it relates to Usha. Usha is the traditional meaning is the dawn or early morning time, right? Which is time for you guys right now, right? So what happens at Usha or Ushakal? The sun rises, we start receiving energy. The entire universe, or in that context, the entire city, entire place starts to get energized. And if you take that Usha Sha, then it comes as Pura Ushayati, the energy that energizes the entire world. That is Purusha. Again, Purusha here has nothing to do with male or masculine gender or merge or traditional meaning that we take. It has nothing to do with that. It has no gender associated with it. It has no human form associated with it. Okay, it is just a description or characteristics of an entity. For lack of better words, we can call it energy, we can call it power, we can call it supreme consciousness, whatever we want to call it. But that entity is called Purusha. Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Aditya?
Yeah. So when we talk about Purush-sukta prayers, what is the purpose of them? Why do we say it?
So Purush-sukta, again, as I said, it describes the creation of entire universe, right from the beginning till pretty much today, in the form it exists that we can perceive today. And it is for maintaining that knowledge, understanding that knowledge, and continuing that knowledge, so people know how we came about. And then, of course, it gives opportunity for people to do further research, further understanding, and so on and so forth. It is like, when you start, let's say you go for a event in a college, they always start with who was the founder of that college and why he founded that college, what are the founding principles, and so on. It is to reiterate the importance of the whole purpose of existence of that entity, right? Same thing is here.
So, what are the common Purush-sukta mantra that you can say, like maybe the first mantra or whatever it is? You can say it, and then let us see if we can give an example to people what the Pandits say, what the Brahmanas say. Because most of the people, they think that Brahmana has said something, he's a comical figure by the Bollywood, and he goes away. So, what are some examples you have which you can, which people can recognize this Purush-sukta going on?
Sure. So let's actually the very first mantra itself will start with, but that point that you brought up is very important, and I sometimes laugh at it because most people think that I have some ritual. A pandit will come, he will do his stuff, he will do his rituals, and he will go. I can happily go and eat my food. That's as much as we know. Most people, that's their interest, right? But that is obviously not right, or that is not the case. So Purusha-sukta, it starts with Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Sa Bhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishthad Dashangulam. And we'll take these words. What it says is Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha. The Purusha, the being with 1,000 heads, then 1,000 eyes, and then with 1,000 legs. Now, when I studied this, I started questioning myself if they are describing somebody in human form. Why are they talking only about head, eyes, and legs? Why are they not talking about ears and mouth and chest and arms and so many body parts? Or why are they not talking about the entire body itself? Right. So when I analyzed that, I realized it has nothing to do with any physical organs, sense organs or perception organs or action organs. It is symbolically, it is representing something very important. When we say head, what does head mean? Head means individuality. Right. So when we go for a party and we are placing an order, they say, okay, we'll charge you per head X dollars. Per head indicates per individual, per being, per person, and so on. So head indicates individuality. Now, this mantra is talking about the initial part of the creation. The second part, I'll mention what that initial part is. But the second part is Sahasra Aksha. Aksha is eyes. Eyes indicate shine or luster. And then Sahasra Pad. Pad is legs. The legs indicate motion. Now, why are they talking about this legs and eyes and motion or individuality and shine or luster and the motion? What is the relevance? So this is the mantra that explains the situation right after the Big Bang, so to say. The explosion that happened through which the entire universe came about. What was the situation right at that moment, right after the explosion? So what was the situation is, out of that explosion, thousands of particles came out. Here, when they say 1,000 or sahasra, it is not just exact 1,000, it means thousands of. So thousands of objects came out. Those were all individual specific objects. They had their own individual existence. That is why the word head is used there. Then, since these objects came out of explosion, they were shining. They were glowing. That is why the word eyes, which is associated with shine or luster, that came. And the third thing is, those were, since they came out of explosion, they were moving. And that moving part, the motion part, comes out through the word legs. Now, if you try to visualize, most of us have seen firecrackers. When the firecracker bursts, there are thousands of sparks that spring out of that and start traveling in different directions. That exactly is the situation described in the first mantra, or first line of first mantra. Sahasraksha Sahasrapad. Should I continue with the second line, or any questions?
No, continue with the second line. Yes, I'll ask you a question. I'm noting it down.
Okay. Then the second line says, Sa bhumim vishvato vrutva atyatishthad dashangulam. So what it says is that being, that Purusha, It covers the entire universe and extends beyond that universe by 10 inches. Now we'll again understand what is the 10 inches or 10 fingers, 10 angular, right? So what is that? So first of all, if the Purusha is creating universe, manifesting it, forming it, where is it forming? There needs to be a space in which something can be created. And then we also say that it is expanding. Even there are modern theories that talk about theory of expanding universe and oscillating universe and so on. But definitely it's in motion, right? So if it is in motion, if it is expanding, where is it expanding? There needs to be some space in which it will expand, right? So the Purusha itself, that supreme consciousness, that supreme power, that itself is the space. He itself provides the space in which that universe is created, formed, and expands. Now the universe is within him, so obviously he is bigger than the universe. And it goes beyond by 10 inches. Now why 10? Again, 10 means infinite. Why 10 is infinite? Because in decimal system, there are only digits 0 to 9. And anything that cannot be expressed with 0 to 9 is something that I cannot express, which is infinite. So even the universe that we can perceive today, that we understand today, is a limited portion, and the Purusha itself, that supreme power that expands or extends way beyond the known or perceivable universe. That is what that first mantra talks about.
No, the same shlokas are recited by Brahma also in the Brahma Samhita also, exactly the same. So, and then he describes that in worshipping Govinda. And then he starts the Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. He starts that. Now, in the very exciting, as you were speaking, and I was looking at Bhagavad Puran, and in that the word Purusha comes in. Striyo vratestva Hrishikeshwaram Swato Haradya Loke Patimasha Sades Anyam Tasam Nate Ve Paripadante Patyam Priyam Dhanayushim Yatos Swatantrata. Now, here she mentions very clearly Lakshmi ji's when she's worshipping. She says, and before that it is mentioned is Om Hram Hrim Hrum Om Namo Bhagavate Rishikeshaya. Like she mentions that it's in the 5th skand of Bhagavad Puran, 18th chapter. People can reference it also. So there she mentions a very unique definition of Purusha. Purusha means someone who is not maintained by anyone else. He's independent, Swatantra. Like, and she says she's talking to the residents of Jambudvip, which is us on the earth and primarily Asia. She's telling, and then she says that since he is not maintained by anyone, I am only responsible for him, not for anyone else. And therefore I stay with him. So again, an explanation. And the Purush-sukta prayer also, which you said, now Brahma is reciting these prayers in his Brahma Samhita, which is primarily a forgotten text in the Vedic culture because some people have not referred to it much. But there are some people who know about it because it is regularly recited in Adi Keshav temple in South India, even today.
Right.
So when they refers to this, now the Purusha, now again, I don't believe in Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktaism because all paths lead to Brahma. Well, Krishna tells Uddhava, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwan, iti Shabdite. That all these three aspects refer to me, he says to Uddhava. Yeah. Now that is a higher topic there, Uddhav Gita. People can read it. It's in the 11th skand of Bhagavad Puran. People can get it from there. And so when we see that very clear, so the why I don't believe in Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktaism, whatever they call it, because these are the European way of understanding Veda. But if you're part of Sanatan Dharma, everyone is important. All Devatas are important. Vishnu is Aradhya Paramam. Vishnu is Aradhya for everyone. The moment you say Om, that means Vishnu you have already added in every mantra. And then it becomes a mantra. Shloka becomes a mantra over there. And so and also the invocations, Klim, Am, Om. Shrim, Hrum, Ram. These are all the invocation mantra for Vishnu. So I'm saying it is in Sanatan Dharma, everyone is equal because the path is through any path. You can go through your, you can go to your Kula Devta, and you can still attain moksha because the path is still the one. You need a teacher. So, how does the Purush-sukta prayer connect with the Guru?
So again, as you rightly said, in Purusha-sukta, again, it is believed that the Purusha itself is the supreme being. And there is the overall description about how that supreme being created or manifested universe. So based on my analysis so far, there is no mention that you should go through Guru and acquire right knowledge. Of course, that is what our culture, our traditions talk about, that to acquire right knowledge, you need to have Guru. And if you relate it back to what I initially stated, the reason for having right Guru is so we can understand right meanings. Otherwise, we just try to understand the traditional meaning, conventional meaning, and try to interpret it in different way or ritualistic way alone. And if we have right Guru, he can pass on the right knowledge, what these mantras or different texts really mean and why they're important. And for that aspect, I believe Guru or having Guru is relevant or important.
One of the very similar to which you say, okay, give me one information which is there. Like, for example, are uh, are there are multiple Purush-sukta prayers? Only one.
So Purusha-sukta appears in every Ved, all four Veds, and there are minor variations in different Veds.
Correct.
The core and the concept is same.
Correct. Correct. Because that's what I was thinking. Because the 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 meaning is more important. Like a Sahasrapatra Kamalam Gokulakyam Mahatpadam Tat Karnikaram Tad Dhama Tad Anantam Cha Sambhavam, which is very similar to which you just said, but slight variation right here.
Right.
So you refer to some a Vedic text, and here I'm referring to the Brahma's text.
Right.
But slight variation is there, but the many words are also the same.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then it is talking about a Golok or the information about the spiritual world. And then the next one also begins there. Mat prapte jeshusha sura daraya sotamte ugram tapa indriya yedipa. So slightly different, maybe there. So there can be multiple Purush-sukta prayers. Like whenever the Vishnu comes down, the Devatas recite Purush-sukta prayer. Everywhere in Mahabharata is there. Wherever the Vishnu appears, the Purush-sukta prayers happen. When Sri Ram appears in front of Hanuman, Hanuman repeats Purush-sukta prayers in first time when they meet also. Again, he refers to it. Are the Purush-sukta prayers also said for Devatas also or no?
Yes. So again, it is that becomes part of a ritualistic aspect. Because different people believe in different devatas. And as you rightly said, as long as we understand that that is just part of my belief system, that is not created to divide the society, that I am Shaiva, you are Vaishnava, you are Shakta, you are Ganpati, and so on and so forth. As long as we understand that, it is okay. I want to reach a destination. I feel comfortable going by car. You might feel comfortable taking a train. Somebody might prefer taking some other means. That as long as I don't say that car is the only vehicle and that is the right vehicle, and anybody uses any other vehicle is not intelligent. If I'm not saying that, then it is perfectly fine. But over a period of time, what happened is these different samaj, they started believing supremacy of their own path alone, and the other paths they started thinking are inferior, and that is where the problem comes. And you very rightly said, as long as we understand our final goal is same, that Parama Purusha, Parama Parmeshwar, supreme consciousness, as long as we understand that that is the ultimate goal, how we perceive it, how we visualize it, that entirely up to individual.
True, because the Sanatan Dharma, the beauty of the Veda, like you said, a book of knowledge, is the only book of knowledge. Just everyone is a book of information. So there's a difference right there. So
And
anyway,
I'll try to just catch on one word totally out of context. You talked about Hanuman. right? And the reason I'm going to mention this is again because how we misinterpret something, how we promote misinterpretations, and how it becomes a target for criticism against our faith or belief system. We all believe, we all promote, we all talk about Hanuman being a monkey, and especially being in different country away from India, uh, especially young kids, they get very criticized. Why do you pray monkeys? Why do you pray elephants? Why? And so many whys. And they don't have answer. Kids don't have answer because we don't have answers, and we don't teach them right things. And we believe that Hanuman was monkey. Now, if Hanuman was monkey, again, it came through me challenging myself. uh, how can he recite, how can a monkey recite Purush-sukta? Or uh, Ram clearly says the person who is only the person who has studied all the Veds, who has supreme knowledge, who has all the siddhis, can talk like this. First of all, how can monkeys talk? Second of all, how can monkeys study Ved? And if we go through different descriptions in Valmiki Ramayana, we will clearly understand that Hanuman was not a monkey. Right? He was a human being. But we don't make an effort to understand the truth. And again, in my opinion, Hanuman was monkey is a myth. And we keep on promoting that myth.
Well, I will counter you over there because one of my book is The Global Footprint of Ramayana, and I have dwelt upon this issue in detail over there, connecting
Oh,
different
awesome.
shastra. So it's very famous in India, Global Footprint of Ramayana, and in US it's called One Arrow, One Kill. It's one of the
Okay.
bestsellers we have. And in that, I've quoted Brahma because Brahma gave the Vardhan to all the Vanara. So before Ram came, so whenever Vishnu comes, all the Devatas come down. All Devatas take form, appear in the different families. It's like a Brahma arranges them. So before Ram came down, he ordered all the Devata to produce children in Vanara species, reach species, Jambavan, because Brahma can do some things which ordinary human being cannot do. So if we start thinking from the European point of view, then we start questioning how is it possible? Europeans have still not discovered themselves till now because they got their spiritual jibe or spiritual vaccination in 16th century, and still now they're figuring out who they are, and they between them they've created so many wars also because they're too much individualistic. But anyway, coming to the if uh, you have to answer all these answers are in Valmiki Ramayana, that Brahma specifically asked Devatas to produce children in the womb of Vanara who will be all versed in the Veda, who will be all able to change their forms. Like Hanuman was if you look at the Ashok Vatika incident, he was a small Vanara in the tree. He came into it's mentioned that he came in original form of a small Vanara with a red face, Rhesus, Vanara. But then again, the same Hanuman, when he meets Bhim in Mahabharata, he assumes a huge form, same Hanuman, because he wanted to see Krishna. For Krishna Lila, he was waiting over there. And he was told that he wants to see and wait for Bhim. His younger brother is going to come. So if you collate both the things by either by Vyasdev or Valmiki, then he is a monkey because he says to Bhim, "You are Manushya, I am Vanara." He says. So if you
I
have
don't
to
mean to
quote.
digress the topic, but yes, I like to talk about this topic. Maybe.
Yeah, since you said that, so that has already been debunked many times because it's sometimes we become apologetic. What will a European think of us? How do I care about European? They don't even have spiritual growth. They're still telling women don't have souls till date today. The Supreme Court resolution has just come out. Women don't have abortion rights. So I don't favor abortion, and I'm neutral to that issue. But I'm just saying I like the free will to be represented by women, and most important is control your senses so that it don't end up in those situations.
Exactly.
Control your senses. That's the most important thing. And that's what yoga teaches us, to control our senses. But the point is, sometimes our communities, because we don't read our Shastra, we have been told Valmiki, who was Valmiki, whether he existed or not. So these are the doubts planted in our minds so that we become apologetic. And the same Europeans, when they move the planet of apes, we believe in that. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
And we take it as reality. Like most of the American kids, if you talk about Planet of Apes, they'll say it's a reality. They'll say it. And we'll also completely made Disney characters reality. Look at the way people have emotions. You go to Disneyland, you must have gone many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
What emotions people show with Disney characters.
Yeah.
So that is a make-believe world of the European mind. Coming back to Purush-sukta. Now, again, the last question of this series, and we'll continue this discussion because I'm really enjoying it right now, and the audience is also enjoying it.
Thank
So
you.
when we say the Purusha-sukta prayers, what benefit does it attain for the person who is reciting it?
Very good question. And this is, I'm going to answer that, but it is not limited to Purusha-sukta alone. It is applicable to most of the Vedic chantings. If we realize and learn how to chant it, then it has multiple benefits. One is, of course, you can say a psychological benefit. People feel that, okay, I'm chanting, I'm doing some rituals, so I'm safe, I'm protected, all those things. That is fine. That is great. But secondly, if we chant those the way they're supposed to be chanted, then it has a lot of medical kind of benefits also. It gives you right breathing exercise. The vibrations it creates in your body are beneficial to your body. And then, of course, the last aspect, as I said, it is knowledge that we can sustain and continue and pass on. So, in my belief, in my understanding, those are three aspects of reciting many ritualistic or Vedic scriptures or suktas.
So in the suktas, when we say sukta, some people may not understand the meaning of sukta also. What is a sukta meaning actually?
Okay, so sukta, again, this word comes from two, if you break it, two parts, su and ukta. Su means well, and ukta is said. So it basically says it's well said. And well said does not mean, when somebody sings a good song, we say, wow, or somebody gives a very catchy statement, we say, well said. It's not in that shallow context, well said. Well said means it's really deep, meaningful, valuable information which is articulated or documented in that set of mantras, and that is why it is called sukta.
I really like the short answers you keep to the point, and that comes from a professional background also, because you have to be very concise and precise.
Thank
I
you.
like that, because most of the people, if you ask when they go to a pravachan and they ask a question, then the answer goes for 3 hours, and then people miss out the main point, and and I appreciate them. Anyone who's doing that is great, because Bhagavad Puran is such, or any other Veda, in one shloka you can speak for the entire life. You don't have to repeat second shloka. I
So
mean,
true.
people who know the content. So
True.
because it's a Chatushloki Bhagavad. In four shloka, the entire Bhagavad is summarized.
Right.
So anyway, so coming to the last question of this series, and then we'll wrap up this show, is that the the Purusha Sukta is an integral part of any Pancharatrika. I Pancharatrika means the methodology set up by Narad Muni. But you will see Purusha Sukta is the daily morning prayers in any of the four dham. Whether I was in Ranganath recently, and I saw the pujari recited in front of me. He didn't know that I know it, so I was just listening very attentively. And Ranganath was in front of Ranganath. In Jagannath Puri, in front of Jagannath Ji, it happens. In Dwarka, it happens. In Badrinath, it happens. And in Kedarnath also it happens. Same prayers everywhere, common. It's like whether you are in, people divide them into Dravida. There are many pujaris who are from Dravida background. Dalit, you call them. They're from Dalit background, but they are qualified. So
Yeah.
even they recite Purush-sukta prayers in front of Jagannath. It's allowed over there. So uh, how do you see this as Purusha Sukta is like when the Western world says power of prayers, and when their prayers are so basic, I look at them and I say, hey, there is nothing in the prayer. There's no creation, there is no sustenance, there is no destruction, nothing is there. And the prayers are like, I hold my hands and I close my eyes. Whatever comes to my mind is a prayer. But in Veda, in our Sanatan Dharma culture, our Rishi Munis have they're teaching us how to pray, what to pray, why to pray.
Yep.
And so what do you say about Purush-sukta prayers uniting the entire Sanatana Dharma society?
Okay, great. So the Western concept of prayer, I believe, is completely different than our concept of prayer. Western concept of prayer is mostly, as you rightly said, whatever comes to my mind, or just saying something that we want and things of that nature. Whereas the Vedic tradition, the prayers are these mantras, these the knowledge which is documented and that is being taught over generations to the next generation, so that the knowledge prevails and the knowledge is understood properly by different people. And coming back, how does it unite? If we look at what we talked about a little bit, is there are different pantha or different samaj that believes in different deity or different god or different uh, channel or different path and so on. But if we see all of them are chanting Purusha-sukta, which means they all believe, they all know, they all understand that this path that I'm taking leads me to the supreme reality. And that supreme reality is what the Purusha is. And that is what everybody believes. And as long as everybody believes that, and again, as I said, they don't believe that my path is the only path, they are all united. They all know the same thing.
Sanatana Dharma is so beautiful that you don't have to follow my path. You you have to follow your own path. Everyone has their own path, and individuality is granted.
Exactly.
So, it's so vast. That's why I usually say Sanatana Dharma is for the humanity. No other dharma is for the humanity except Sanatana Dharma, because you can pick and choose. Whereas in the European path is my way or the highway. That's why all the natives were killed. In South, millions of people were killed because everyone wants to be my way. And that's how the Middle Eastern Abrahamic faith also, where Islamism, wherever it goes, it says my way or the highway.
Exactly.
And
But that is so interesting also, right? I can be Hindu or Sanatani if I believe in Shiva. And even if I don't believe in Shiva, I can still be Hindu. I believe in Ram, I can be Hindu. I don't believe in Ram, I can still be Hindu. So there is so much flexibility of your own individuality, your own power of thinking, your own abilities of interpreting. It is amazing.
Even a Nastic also.
A
Nastic.
Exactly. You can be Nastic and still be Hindu.
Nastic means a crazy man, according to Mahabharata. But he's still a Hindu also. He's allowed because in the Yaksha, Yudhishthir Samvad, in my last book, Pandavas, the famous five, I've captured that, in which he says a Nastic is a Murk. Exactly the word Murk is used. But still, he's part of the culture, he's part of it. He's not condemned. He gets all the help. He can meet Yudhishthir, he can meet Vyas, he can do anything.
Right.
That is also. Thank you so much, Parag Bhalerao. I really enjoyed my conversation. Next time we'll start with the second mantra or third mantra.
Sure.
And they'll continue with expanding on it, because Purush-sukta prayers you can do at your home. You don't have to wait for Pandit. Do it on your own. Right. So thank you so much, Paragji, and I'll see you next time.
I appreciate all the advertise as such, but I have written a book which has given all the detailed analysis, and the book itself is called Creation of Universe.
You have a copy of it?
So I have a copy here. So
all right. Is it available on Amazon?
It is available on Amazon.
Send me the link. I'll put it on the video.
Sure.
And all the viewers who are watching it, do get this book to understand Purush-sukta. And do comment on this video to get some more, and we'll have continued this series on Purush-sukta. Namaste and thank you.
I enjoyed talking to you. Have a wonderful day and wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.